In the heart of the ancient land, where the earth itself hummed with forgotten songs, there flowed a river that spoke only to those brave enough to listen. Villagers called it the Whispering River. They said, when the moon rose high and the baobab trees cast long silver shadows, the river whispered secrets of the past and of the future. In a small Nigerian village named Kembe, children were told never to go near the Whispering River after sunset. The elders insisted it was sacred, a home for spirits who guided or punished, depending on the purity of one's heart. Among those children lived Ayo, a 12-year-old boy with bright eyes and a restless spirit. He had always felt like an outsider. His mother had died when he was little. His father walked far away, and the only memory of his family was a small carved wooden bird his mother had left him. Ayo loved stories. Every evening, as the fire crackled and the elders told tales of the Whispering River, he sat quietly, absorbing every word. But deep inside, he wondered, do the spirits really whisper? Or is it just another story to keep us afraid? One night, after another day of being teased by older boys for being spirit haunted, Ayo ran to the edge of the Whispering River. The moon was full. The water glowed like molten silver. The air felt alive. He clutched the carved bird and whispered, if you can hear me, O river spirits, tell me why my life feels empty. Tell me who I really am. At first, only the rustling reeds answered. Then a sound rose, soft and low, like a distant drum. The current swirled into shapes, and a voice as old as the earth itself murmured, child of courage, the one you seek lies beyond fear. Step closer. Ayo's heart pounded. He stepped into the cold water. Suddenly the surface shimmered, and he saw images, not just of himself, but of the village's hidden past. Men cutting down sacred trees, women weeping, children lost to greed. He stumbled back, gasping. The voice whispered again, the village has forgotten its promise. Only the pure of heart may remind them, or the river will rise and wash them away. The images vanished. The river returned to silence. Terrified, Ayo ran back to the village. But when he tried to tell the elders, they laughed and shook their heads. Childish dreams, they said. Stay away from the river. Even his father's old friend, Uncle Obi, who was kindest to him, warned him. Some doors must remain closed, Ayo. That night, Ayo could not sleep. The river's whisper echoed in his mind. Only the pure of heart may remind them. He realized the village was in danger, but who would believe a boy? The next morning, the sun rose over Kembe, but Ayo felt only the cold echo of the river's warning. The villagers moved about as always, grinding millet, fetching water, mending nets, unaware of the dark shadow curling beneath their daily life. Ayo tried once more to speak to Uncle Obi, but the old man only placed a heavy hand on his shoulder and whispered, some things are too heavy for a child. Then he turned away. All day the boy felt the river calling. By dusk his resolve hardened. He could not sit and wait for disaster. He tucked his mother's carved bird into his shirt, slipped away from the firelight, and followed the path to the whispering river. The forest canopy closed above him like a living roof. Fireflies blinked in the dark. The closer he came, the more the air trembled with an unseen rhythm, as if drums were buried under the earth. At the river bank, the silver glow returned. This time, Ayo spoke not as a frightened boy, but as a messenger. River, I am here. Show me what I must do. Mist rose from the water, curling like fingers. A shape appeared, faint and fluid, the outline of a woman with eyes like deep wells. Her voice was a melody and a warning. Child of courage, the village broke its vow to the earth. They took more than they gave. Unless the promise is renewed, The river will rise and sweep them away. Ayo's knees shook. How can I, a boy, renew a promise for a whole village? The spirit's eyes softened. Carry this song. Carry it to the heart of your people. At dawn, you must drum at the sacred baobab. The drumbeat will wake their sleeping hearts. Only then will they remember. From the mist emerged a small drum, no bigger than a calabash, carved with swirling patterns like waves. It glowed faintly in Ayo's hands. When you strike it, speak the truth. Do not fear their anger, the spirit said. Your courage is the river's voice. The mist faded. Ayo found himself alone again, holding the drum. His own heart pounded like thunder. He ran back through the forest, but before he reached the village, he heard voices behind him. Three older boys, the same ones who mocked him, had followed. Look at the spirit boy, one jeered. What is that glowing thing? They tried to snatch the drum. Ayo clutched it to his chest. It's not for you, he cried. They chased him down a narrow path. He stumbled, fell, and the drum rolled away into the grass. For a moment the night went silent. Then the ground trembled. A low rumble rose from the earth, a warning. The boys froze, their bravado draining. This place is cursed, they whispered and ran back toward the village. Ayo crawled to the drum, cradling it. I won't fail you, he whispered to the river. By the time he reached the village, the sky was paling with dawn. He climbed the slope to the great baobab at the center of Kembe. Its roots twisted like giant snakes, its trunk wide enough to swallow three men. This was the tree under which the elders once made their promises to the land, a place now forgotten. Ayo stood beneath its branches and lifted the drum. His hands shook. Please, he prayed to his mother's spirit, help me be brave. Then he began to play. At first the sound was small, no louder than a heartbeat, but with each strike the drum's globe brightened. The sound spread like ripples on water. Doors opened. People emerged, blinking at the boy in confusion. He played harder, calling the river's song into the air. The beat echoed off the huts, the hills, the sky itself. Images began to form above the baobab, shimmering visions of the past. Men chopping sacred trees, women turning away from the river, children crying. Gasps rose from the crowd. What is this? The chief demanded, stepping forward. Ayo's voice rang out, stronger than he expected. This is what we have done. This is what the river remembers. We broke our promise to the earth, and the river will rise unless we change. The chief's face darkened. Silence, boy. You dare shame us with tricks? He raised his staff to strike the drum, but before he could, the ground shuddered. A roar like 1,000 drums filled the air. From beyond the hills, the whispering river surged, its water swelling, shining like molten silver. The villagers cried out, falling to their knees. The chief dropped his staff. Ayo's drumbeat slowed, then softened into a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. He felt the spirit's presence beside him, unseen but powerful. Renew the promise, he said, tears streaming down his face, or the river will take us all. The villagers wept. Old women remembered the ancient songs. Men bowed their heads. Children clung to their mothers. Uncle Obi stepped forward and began to sing an old prayer, his voice trembling. One by one, the villagers joined until the square filled with a sound not heard in generations, a song of apology and renewal. The river's roar eased. The silver water paused at the edge of the fields, glimmering in the dawn. Slowly it began to receive. Slowly it began to recede, flowing back toward its bed. A cool breeze washed over the village, carrying the scent of rain and earth. Ayo lowered the drum. It no longer glowed, but felt warm and alive in his hands. He looked up at the baobab and whispered, "Thank you." Above him, a bird, the same kind carved in his mother's token, fluttered onto a branch and sang. Behind him, the chief approached, his eyes wet. "Child," he said, kneeling, "you have reminded us who we are. Forgive us. Teach us the river's song so we never forget again." Ayo's heart swelled. He was no longer just a boy on the edge of the village. He was its voice, its courage, its promise. And from that day on, each dawn in Kembe began with the soft beat of a drum beneath the baobab, a reminder that the earth listens and that even the smallest voice can awaken a sleeping world. Days passed in Kembe, and life began to shift like the slow turning of a river's current. The villagers rebuilt the shrines near the Whispering River, planted young baobab trees where the old ones had been cut, and sang the old songs at dusk. At the heart of every gathering sat Ayo with the sacred drum, no longer a frightened boy, but a bridge between his people and the unseen world. Children who once mocked him now came to sit at his feet. "Tell us the story of the Whispering River," they begged, eyes wide. Ayo would smile, place his mother's carved bird beside the drum, and begin. "Long ago, a boy listened when no one else would. One evening, as the sun sank into a crimson horizon, Uncle Obi approached with a cloth bundle. "Your father has heard of your courage," he said softly. "He is returning home." Tears welled in Ayo's eyes. For the first time, he felt the weight of loneliness lift from his shoulders. The river had given him back not only his people, but his family. That night, as the village slept, Ayo walked alone to the river bank. The water gleamed under the moonlight, calm and deep. He knelt and whispered, "Thank you." The current rippled, and a faint voice drifted over the water. "Child of courage, the promise lives because of you. Remember this. When hearts forget, the river remembers. When voices fall silent, the drum will speak." Ayo dipped his fingers into the water. It was cool and alive. He understood then that the Whispering River was more than a spirit. It was the memory of the earth, waiting for someone brave enough to carry its message. As he rose to leave, a soft glow appeared on the opposite bank. A young girl stood there, no older than he, holding a reed flute. She raised it to her lips and played a single clear note that drifted across the water like a silver thread. Ayo smiled. Perhaps she too had heard the river. Perhaps there would be others, children in distant villages, listening to forgotten songs. He raised the drum and answered her note with a beat that echoed like a heartbeat across the valley. The girl's eyes widened. She nodded once, then melted into the mist. The glow faded. When Ayo returned to Kembe, he told no one of the girl, but in his heart he knew the Whispering River's story was not finished. One day he would travel beyond his village, carrying the drum and the carved bird, teaching others to remember their promises to the earth. The story would flow like water from village to village, from mouth to mouth, until the river's whisper became a chorus. Years later, people would say that the boy with the drum had awakened not just his village, but an entire generation. His name became a proverb. "Listen like Ayo," elders would tell their grandchildren. "Listen when the world whispers." And still, at dawn, the baobab tree at the center of Kembe would tremble with the soft beat of a drum, a reminder that courage can be small, voices can be young, and yet hearts can move mountains and rivers alike. For in the heart of every listener, the Whispering River flowed, and its song was this: even the smallest act of courage can heal what has been broken, and even the softest voice can carry a promise across time.